Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. As we stand here in June 2026, the global cosmetics landscape has reached a critical turning point. We are no longer operating in an environment where quality is a nice-to-have marketing claim. In a market projected to surpass $644 billion, and with the full weight of MOCRA's active enforcement in the US and the EU's new greenwashing directive now in force, ISO 22716 has transitioned from a standard of excellence to a standard of survival. My name is Wayne Wang, Domain Manager for Quality and Risk at BSI Taiwan, and today we are going to explore how moving beyond simple compliance to a strategic ISO 22716 framework can unlock massive ROI, protect your brand from $14 million average violation costs, and build a verifiable sustainability advantage that wins the trust of the modern skin intellectual consumer. Let's dive into the architecture of brand resilience for 2030. Let's examine this capsule framework, which beautifully illustrates the sheer scale, regional dynamics, and future evolution of the global cosmetics industry. Let's start at the very bottom with the market foundation and evolution. $644.17 billion market valuation. The global cosmetics sector is on a robust expansion trajectory, projected to reach a massive peak of $644.17 billion by 2034. Rise of the skin intellectual. This growth is fundamentally backed by a smarter consumer base. Consumers are moving away from traditional brand narratives and are highly prioritizing clinical efficacy and ingredient transparency. ISO 22716 2007 standardization. As formulations become more complex, ISO 22716 serves as the essential strategic infrastructure, ensuring global safety, quality, and a standardized compliance language across international borders. Moving up into the regional structural layers, let's look at how the three primary global powers are performing based on the latest forecasts. Layer 1, Blue Zone, APAC, the dominant powerhouse. Market position. Commanding over 40% of the global market, APAC's dominance is heavily fueled by continuous K-beauty and J-beauty innovations. The numbers. The 2025-2026 forecast stands at $139.67 billion, and it's projected to jump to $186.34 billion by 2032-2034. Layer 2, Red Zone, North America, tech integration. Market position. This is a critical high-value market increasingly driven by beauty tech integration, such as AI-driven personalization and AR-enabled retail experiences. The numbers. The market is expected to grow from $93.55 billion in the 2025-2026 forecast up to $127.1 billion by 2032-2034. Layer 3, Purple Zone, Europe. Steady benchmarks. The numbers. Europe continues to show reliable, strong growth as a key regulatory and commercial pillar. The 2025-2026 forecast sits at $112.4 billion, moving up to $136.6 billion in the 2032-2034 window. Finally, capping off the framework in the green zone at the top, we see emerging manufacturing hubs. Markets like India and Indonesia are rapidly ascending, transforming into critical, high-growth centers for global production and consumption. Conclusion. With multi-billion-dollar expansions occurring in every corner of the world, anchoring your operations in ISO 22716 is the single best way to ensure your quality system scales seamlessly alongside global demand. This slide highlights the core operational pillars of ISO 22716 and how the standard helps cosmetic manufacturers systematically reduce quality and safety risks. At the center of ISO 22716 is risk control. The standard focuses on managing the human, environmental, and technical factors that can impact product quality throughout the manufacturing process. Unlike general quality standards, ISO 22716 is specifically designed for the cosmetics industry, where manufacturers must deal with challenges such as contamination risks, chemical raw materials, and complex filling and packaging operations. The first pillar shown here is personnel and organizational discipline. ISO 22716 emphasizes that product quality depends heavily on the competence and hygiene of employees. Staff must work within a clearly defined organizational structure with clear responsibilities and accountability. Regular GMP and hygiene training, together with proper PPE usage, help minimize contamination risks and reduce human error. The second pillar is premises and environmental control. Manufacturing facilities must be designed to support a clean and controlled workflow. This includes separating raw materials, in-process products, and finished goods to prevent mix-ups or cross-contamination. Production areas must also be easy to clean and properly maintained to ensure a hygienic manufacturing environment. The third pillar is equipment integrity and calibration. Equipment must be suitable for cosmetic manufacturing, easy to sanitize, and regularly maintained and calibrated. Even a small calibration issue can create major quality and financial risks, including batch failures or product recalls. At the bottom of the slide, we can also see the broader strategic framework of ISO 22716. The standard connects operational controls with business objectives, such as protecting supply chain integrity, ensuring process reproducibility, and verifying product safety through laboratory testing and quality controls. Finally, ISO 22716 extends beyond the factory floor into supply chain management. Raw materials and packaging components must meet predefined specifications, and suppliers must also undergo qualification and auditing processes. Today, many global cosmetic brands and international buyers consider ISO 22716 certification a key indicator of manufacturing reliability and supply chain credibility. Let's take a look at how ISO 22716 acts as a global regulatory bridge. While regional laws vary, they increasingly rely on ISO 22716 as the ultimate benchmark for good manufacturing practices, or GMP. At the base of our framework, you can see the global regulatory foundation. By using ISO 22716 as a universal standard, companies get a presumption of conformity across multiple international jurisdictions. This harmonization allows you to serve multiple global markets using just a single quality management system, keeping your operations highly efficient. Now, let's look at how the three major global powers approach this framework. EU, the gold standard, Reg 1223/2009. The European Union is the benchmark. Under Regulation 1223/2009, compliance with ISO 22716 is strictly mandated. To enter the European market, you must have a Product Information File, or PIF, for every single product launch. USA, the MOCRA paradigm shift. The US market is undergoing a massive regulatory shift. MOCRA transitions the US from a voluntary framework to mandatory FDA facility registration and safety substantiation. The FDA is aligning directly with international norms, using ISO 22716 as the core foundation. China, the CSAR strategic advantage. In China, under the CSAR framework, ISO 22716 offers a massive strategic advantage. It provides a pathway for animal testing exemptions on general cosmetics, provided your documentation is backed by government-certified GMP compliance. To tie it all together, we can look at the data table right in the center of the slide, which captures the current status across these major jurisdictions. Jurisdiction, primary regulation, ISO 22716 status. European Union, Regulation EC 1229/2009, Primary Harmonized Standard. United States, MOCA 2022, Basis for FDA Draft Guidance. China, CSAR 2021, Basis for Animal Testing Exemption. Ultimately, no matter which of these major markets you are targeting, ISO 22716 is the single key that unlocks compliance across all of them. When we look at implementing ISO 22716, it is crucial to view it not just as an expense, but as a strategic balance between the risk, cost of failure, and the investment, proactive quality. Let's look at the green section on the left, which represents our proactive quality investment. 3,000 to 15,000 pounds fees. Over a 3-year cycle, the direct certification fees range from 3,000 to over 15,000 pounds, depending on the size of the organization. Compared to the cost of non-compliance, this upfront cost is highly manageable. The Global Market Passport. This investment delivers immediate commercial returns. It acts as a global passport, significantly accelerating supplier onboarding with major e-commerce platforms like Amazon EU and opening doors to partner with prestige brands like Estée Lauder. Conversely, if we look at the red and purple sections on the right, the alternative is the risk, and the cost of failure is staggering. $14.8 million violation. Globally, enforcement is tightening. The average cost of a single regulatory violation now stands at $14.8 million, and that figure continues to trend upward. $600 million recall impact. If a major product failure triggers a global recall, a brand faces up to $600 million in lost sales and associated crisis expenses. The hidden COP-OQ. Beyond the headline numbers, there is the hidden cost of poor quality. The invisible drain on profitability caused by product rework, material waste, and lost production capacity during downtime. 77% faster resolution. On the flip side, implementing a standardized quality system slashes the time spent handling complaints and investigating errors by 77%, keeping operations lean. To tie it all together, let's look at the financial impact versus mitigation chart right in the center, which clearly maps out the protection ISO 22716 provides. Single batch failure. Potential impact, up to $1 million. Mitigation, prevented through ISO 22716 in-process controls. Regulatory violation. Potential impact, $14.8 million. Managed through continuous compliance monitoring. Major global recall. Potential impact, up to $800 million in a worst-case scenario. Mitigated, secured by robust traceability and recalls. Conclusion. The takeaway here is simple. While achieving certification requires an upfront investment, preventing even a single batch failure or regulatory penalty pays for the entire quality system many times over. As we look at this framework, we can see how ISO 22716 is being repositioned as a powerful driver for sustainability and ESG compliance. At the base, we have the GMP Foundation, ISO 22716. By implementing rigorous documentation and traceability requirements and safety and quality protocols, we build the data-driven floor needed for sustainable operations. Moving up to the middle layer, let's explore how this standard directly optimizes operational resource efficiency. Precision material tracking. Systematic documentation allows us to pinpoint exact sources of waste. This leads to optimized filling processes that reduce overfill and cleaning protocols that minimize water usage. 23,186 megawatt hours energy reduction. This drives massive real-world numbers. For instance, Oriflame achieved a staggering 23,186 megawatt hours in energy consumption by integrating energy and quality management protocols. Circular economy infrastructure. Whether dealing with strict packaging regulations or implementing refillable product models, GMP ensures that new sustainable materials and refillable environments maintain absolute product integrity and safety. Finally, these back-end operational efficiencies directly fuel the top layer, verification and consumer trust. 70% prefer certified brands. The market has spoken. 70% of consumers actively favor brands that back up their safety and ethical claims with independent certifications. Evidence-based clean beauty. With regulators heavily cracking down on greenwashing, ISO 22716 audits provide the primary audited proof required to satisfy strict EU and FTC anti-greenwashing regulations. 76% brand disengagement risk. On the flip side, the risk of inaction is severe. 76% of consumers are highly likely to completely abandon brands that lack social responsibility or transparency. Conclusion. Ultimately, ISO 22716 is no longer just a compliance checklist. It is the operational engine that turns ESG goals into verified consumer trust.
Let's move on to the future of ISO 22716, which is being rapidly shaped by the era of digital GMP. Traditional paper-based batch records and manual logs are officially being replaced by digital ecosystems that offer real-time, end-to-end visibility into the production process. The heartbeat of this evolution is the integration of low-code platforms and manufacturing execution systems, or MES. Traditional rollout, 8 to 24 months. Historically, deploying an MES took nearly 2 years of heavy development. Low-code speed today? Low-code platforms allow cosmetics companies to digitize their entire GMP workflow in a matter of weeks, boosting deployment speed exponentially. Frontline ownership. This agility gives quality staff and process engineers the ownership to directly design station guidance apps, ensuring every single batch is produced exactly to specification. This digital approach unlocks 3 massive strategic advantages. Iterative validation. Teams can test and refine production steps in parallel with validation, drastically cutting down on rework. Automated audit trails. The system automatically captures every action, signature, and timestamp, making regulatory audits significantly faster and completely stress-free. LIMS and ERP unification. Unifying shop floor data with laboratory, LIMS, and enterprise ERP systems allows for real-time quality rejections, blocking non-compliant products from ever reaching the distribution chain. Looking beyond the factory floor, artificial intelligence is now an indispensable tool for managing the post-market elements of ISO 22716, specifically Chapter 14 regarding complaints and recalls. AI-driven signal detection. Modern digital safety platforms use AI to monitor and scan global markets for adverse event reports in real time. Predictive approach to safety. AI flags potential safety issues far earlier than manual reviews ever could. This allows brands to take swift corrective action before a minor localized issue escalates into a massive global product crisis. For high-growth, zero-tolerance sectors like dermocosmetics, this predictive safety model is an absolute necessity. Conclusion. In short, digital GMP shifts our quality approach from reactive paperwork to a proactive, predictive shield for the brand. As we wrap up, let's look at how companies must navigate a landscape of increasing regulatory fragmentation and global risks. The top half of the slide highlights 3 major market shifts. French PFAS ban, January 2026. France is leading the charge by officially banning per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances, PFAS, in cosmetics, effective January 2026. EU fragrance allergen expansion from 26 to 82. The EU has aggressively expanded its list of declarable fragrance allergens from 26 to 82, requiring much tighter formulation and labeling controls. Emerging African market needs. We see a surging demand for indigenous oils like marula. These unique botanical ingredients require specialized ISO 22716 quality protocols to ensure they don't introduce new contamination risks during manufacturing. The bottom half of the slide addresses the darker side of e-commerce expansion, the rise of counterfeit goods, and how a robust quality system acts as our ultimate shield. $5 million in counterfeit seizures. In 2023 alone, Interpol's Operation Pangea seized over $5 million worth of fraudulent and counterfeit cosmetics worldwide. High-risk contaminants. These fake products pose severe health risks, frequently containing dangerous, toxic levels of lead, arsenic, and mercury. ISO 22716 traceability, our critical defense. This is where compliance becomes a competitive shield. ISO 22716 certification provides a bulletproof, traceable supply chain, allowing legitimate brands to absolutely prove product authenticity and safety to both regulators and consumers. Conclusion. In an environment of shifting regulations and rising global threats, ISO 22716 is no longer just a compliance baseline. It is your brand's ultimate security defense. Let's take a look at this facility cross-section. It maps out the exact real-world challenges organizations face when implementing ISO 22716, paired with the practical solutions required to cross the compliance finish line. The blueprint is split into two core areas: operational integrity on the top floor and foundational pillars on the bottom floor. Let's start at the base of the facility with our foundational pillars, looking from left to right. Challenge 1. Overlapping roles. The issue: in many standard setups, production managers often have the final say over quality decisions to meet tight shipping deadlines. The solution: we must transition from overlapping roles to independent oversight. By appointing an independent head of quality and adopting competency-based training, we remove commercial pressure from safety decisions. Challenge 2. Cross-contamination risks. The issue: legacy plant layouts with poor material and personnel flow create high-risk intersection points. The solution: implement sanitary design and logical flow mapping. This means explicitly designing dedicated hygiene zones and one-way material paths to completely isolate contaminants. Challenge 3. Time-based logs. The issue: relying on rigid calendar schedules for equipment maintenance often misses early signs of failure, leading to batch contamination. The solution? Move to predictive and condition-based maintenance. Transition to diagnostic CMMS systems with mandatory GMP data fields to address equipment wear before a failure occurs. Now, let's look at the top floor, focusing on operational integrity, right across the production line. Challenge 4. Shadow spreadsheets. The issue: the proliferation of unvalidated Excel files and informal clipboards creates severe data integrity gaps. The solution? Eliminating shadow spreadsheets. We replace these unvalidated files with 21 CFR Part 11 compliant EBR to capture ironclad, automated data. Challenge 5. Temporary fixes. The issue: patching up equipment issues with short-term Band-Aid remedies, rather than addressing systemic flaws. The solution? Drive a structured root cause analysis approach using the 5 whys or fishbone diagrams. Right next to this on the line, we deploy a TOC-based cleaning validation protocol, ensuring sticky formulas or allergens are completely cleared between batches. Challenge 6. Supplier drift. The issue? Raw material quality slowly shifting or deviating from specifications over time. The solution? Enforce rigorous material quarantine and vendor qualification. This requires strict physical quarantine areas for unreleased stock and mandatory periodic on-site supplier audits. Finally, anchoring the entire line is our traceability solution: annual mock recalls. This ensures that the system can trace any batch backward to raw materials and forward to customers within hours. Conclusion. The takeaway from this blueprint is clear. ISO 22716 is not a static paperwork exercise. True compliance means systematically replacing every single operational blind spot with the technical interlocks shown right here on this floor. As we look at this framework, we see ISO 22716 not just as a certification, but as a complete architecture of excellence. By looking through the lens of Mary Kay, L'Oreal, and growth-oriented SMEs, we can see exactly how this standard translates into a global seal of safety. Everything starts at the base with strategic implementation. High-tech facility. Take Mary Kay's $100 million R3 facility as an example. By investing in state-of-the-art infrastructure,
They've ensured a logical, contamination-free production flow from the ground up. Digitalization and precision control. We are replacing old-school manual logs with high-precision digital monitoring and automated color checking to ensure absolute consistency across every single batch. Cultural accountability. Quality is a mindset. By embedding accountability into the organizational culture, what Mary Kay calls the golden rule, compliance becomes a shared responsibility rather than just a checklist. Once the foundation is solid, the numbers speak for themselves. 45% reduction in complaints. For SMEs in hubs like Bangalore, modernizing operations through GMP has led to a massive 45% drop in product complaints. Sustained 12% production growth. L'Oreal's journey shows that ISO 22716 provides the operational stability required to scale, supporting a 12% sustained growth in global production. Ultimately, this leads us to the peak, global outcomes. Certification acts as a seal of safety, facilitating seamless global market entry. It is the prerequisite that allows brands to expand confidently into highly regulated regions like the EU and the Middle East. Finally, let's look at the data table on the right. Whether you are a global leader like L'Oreal, managing 7 billion units with cobotics, an industry leader like Mary Kay, producing 1 million units daily, or an export-oriented SME leveraging digitized inventory, ISO 22716 is the common engine driving your success.
To wrap up our presentation, let's look at the ultimate blueprint for the end of this decade. ISO 22716 as the architecture of brand resilience 2030. As the global cosmetics market officially surpasses the $500 billion mark, ISO 22716 is transitioning from a standard of excellence to a strict standard of survival. In a market of this scale, even a minor quality deviation carries massive financial and social consequences. The entire structure stands on the foundation of strategic survival, driven by 3 concrete pillars at the base. The standard of survival, protecting the brand against high-stakes product liabilities. The economic engine, minimizing the cost of non-compliance to optimize ROI smoothly across the EU, US, and China. Ethical infrastructure, providing the critical framework required to integrate seamlessly into a sustainable, circular economy. Built upon that survival foundation are the 3 2030 strategic layers designed to answer emerging market forces. We can map them directly to our market trends table on the right. Trend 1. Skin intellectualism. The implication? Consumers are highly educated and demand verified ingredient transparency. Strategic focus? Substantiated safety. Our focus centers heavily on Chapter 9, laboratory controls, to back up every brand claim with ironclad lab data. Trend 2. Personalized biotech and omni-channel growth. The implication? High-value, small-batch complexity paired with complex global logistics. Strategic focus? Distribution resilience. We achieve this through iterative validation and tight digital monitoring to mitigate supply chain disruptions. Trend 3. Green claims scrutiny. The implication? Global regulators are actively cracking down on vague environmental marketing. Strategic focus? Operational transparency. This requires clean, integrated ESG and sustainability reporting directly tied to our shop floor data. In summary, ISO 22716 is no longer just a manual of static procedures. It is the comprehensive, strategic architecture required to navigate a complex future. It is the single ultimate foundation of brand resilience and the primary guarantor of a safe, high-growth future for our global enterprise. Thank you very much. As we wrap up our main discussion today, I want to leave you with one final thought. We've seen that the global cosmetics market is no longer just about luxury. It's about integrated health,
digital precision, and radical transparency. For any brand looking to survive and scale by 2030, ISO 22716 isn't just a badge on the wall. It is your strategic infrastructure. It is the bridge that harmonizes your operations between the EU, US, and China. And it is the single most effective shield you have against the $14 million average cost of a regulatory violation. At BSI, we don't just audit for compliance. We partner with you to turn that compliance into a measurable sustainability advantage. Whether you are navigating MOCRA in the US or the greenwashing directive in Europe, ISO 22716 is the engine that drives that trust. With that, I'd like to open the floor. We have about 15 minutes for your questions. Who would like to start?
If there are no further questions, I'll leave you with this. The cosmetic industry is moving at a $500 billion pace. In 2026, the gap between the brands that claim quality and those that prove quality will become a chasm. Don't let your brand be left on the wrong side of that gap. Reach out to us at BSI, and let's start turning your compliance into your greatest competitive edge. Thank you for your time and your great questions today.